My name is A Guy Called Gerald. I'm a dance music producer and I compose electronic dance music, and also I play electronic dance music live. That's it really, that's what I do for most of my life. I think it would be a self-repairing city. In other words, it wouldn't get rid of waste, it would reuse, it would recycle. I think that's probably the main problem with cities all over the globe. I think with humanity, full stop, we're probably the only creature on the planet that actually doesn't know what to do with our own waste. And we're supposed to be the leaders of the animal kingdoms of the earth, but like the basic, simple thing we don't know how to do. Yet we can go into space and fly airplanes and da. But yet we still accumulate a lot of waste and also share it with our animal relatives, even though they don't want it. And we do that in the sea, we do that in the air, we do that on the land. If there could be a way, like a city that, basically reused energy, like didn't waste energy, which I think is the main thing, and was sensible about things and didn't get really stupid because of money, which is like another main problem. I think because the petrochemical industry is a really powerful industry, and it basically creates a lot of mistakes on this planet. And because we all need money, it can buy its way out of problems it creates, which creates even more problems. So because, it has that power, we all suffer in a way, Like years and years ago, nylon and DuPont were instrumental in illegalizing hemp, not just cannabis, but like hemp was used in materials and in a lot of manufacturing production and stuff before plastics. And it actually was a lot better than plastic in some ways. And it's also biodegradable and it can go back into the earth. But because nylon, DuPont wanted to sell their products as a main manufacturing material, they were instrumental in illegalizing hemp all over the place. So now we have this problem of, we actually have plastic in the sea, plastics in the water. We probably have a lot of plastic in our bodies, actually now, like after all this time. Anyway, so if we could recycle, I know it's a bit long, but yeah, if we could recycle like our waste and use renewable energy. I think wind and like photovoltaic cells, solar becoming cheaper, and also the electronic equipment that we use is becoming a lot less power hungry. We're using smaller and smaller circuits. Things are becoming more digital. I'm praying for forward in like the graphene industry, because like then like circuits become like molecular, so therefore we won't have to use as much power for the devices that we are so addicted to. It will be easier to charge things. I mean, anything that has movement has charge, and you could charge, imagine if you could charge, like say, all the stuff in your car or in your vehicle somehow, just from like a journey, from moving from A to B, and like, that would solve a lot of problems, because if you look on the streets at how many vehicles we use, and I think if we could change from petrol to electric, that would be good. Petrol is it's like a caveman technology, really. It's like basically a piston that explodes down. It's like so you've got like this thing that explodes, bang. We've got electric motors, if we like put energy into that, and we could get rid of petrol. Yeah, I think it's almost like the spearhead in a way. I've lived in different areas on the planet. Like I lived in New York, in part of New York that was kind of cheap and it was full of artists and like, you know, it was kind of a little bit experimental and like artists started to build the area and now it started to be developed. I also lived in like Berlin. That was the same. It was like the artists that were developing cheaper areas with, you know, just making little bars for themselves. And, you know, I've been to like places like Detroit, which like a few years ago was kind of like apparently the worst place in America you could go. And like a lot of the places were knocked down. And then they started to build little art studios. There was open space. They created like places where you could grow organic food, and you know now there's farmers markets and there's artists there, and like you know it's developed into something where it's safe, it's open, like and friendly. I'm in London at the moment, and like in this area where I live, it's like in the east of London, which was a few years ago. It was industrial, broken down, like old factories, abandoned. Like no one really wanted to be there. Now, like because artists started to do parties there, and then people started to move in and like started to take the area and care for it and make their own, personalize it and make their own thing. Now the government has started to like take the area over and build flats, and so I think artists kind of are almost like a regenerator of old ideas, or you know a lot of artists, because they can't afford to live in big expensive places, areas, they go to the cheap areas and develop them. Usually they're run down areas, and like the same with like you know factories like this. That kind of thing has happened all over the world, where people have reused things that kind of have no purpose anymore. I mean, because we're in the age of computers, a lot of places that were like offices and like I don't know shops or retail or whatever are not kind of popular anymore. So a lot of people, I won't say abandon these areas, and they've been taken over, or they've been reused, or they've been repurposed in a way, you know, for kind of newer ideas like this, you know, for creating entertainment, or, you know, creating places where you can go and do, you know, meet people and stuff like that. I think you should invest in artists too, you know, more than, or people should look at the art of artists, you know, like the people who are actually building or making do with the cheap to create like safe places, create places that, you know, other people would never really use. I don't think they should overlook freedom of movement. I mean, that's not, I don't think they would, but I don't think movement, you know, like where, say people want to create something inside, like these places that are beneficial to the area, you know, I think they should put importance on that, put a lot of energy in that'll help people if they've got an idea to create something and the space is available, then, you know, there should be helps, you know, like, and obviously it should be something that balances, so like everyone helps each other, so like the people who create the space like should find artists or people who need space or need help, and then in turn they could help the people who like use the space, then should help the people who have the space, you know, like to, and things like that will regenerate areas, or you know what I mean, like just basically keeps the energy going.